A total trash game. Outdated graphics, unbalanced gameplay. This is the definition of a disaster in the gaming world. Kang Jin-hyuk couldn't hide his frustration. To him, this was nothing more than a bottom-tier trash game. The Tower of Trials, a name on every gamer's blacklist due to its absolute absurdity. Even so, gamers kept grinding away day and night, forgetting to eat and sleep just to conquer its heights. After 3 years passed, everyone had to face the harsh truth. The Tower of Trials was simply an unbeatable game. The gatekeeper stood tall like an immovable fortress, the one who held the title of the game's undefeatable entity. The minus 60 degrees Celsius temperature in the polar region is enough to kill anyone in just 1 short hour. Massive labyrinth stretching over 10,000 square kilometers, a place that swallows the hope of countless people. Enough was enough. Kang Jin-hyuk threw his controller away, unable to tolerate the game's absurdity any longer. The player count dropped drastically. The Tower of Trials was slowly fading away with time. To be more precise, the game was on the verge of shutting down permanently. Even so, there were still top-tier players who refused to give up, persistently challenging the limits of this brutal game. Kang Jin-hyuk's heavy breathing echoed in the silent room, with exhaustion clearly written all over his face. A shrill system notification rang out. The 50th floor had been conquered. Kang Jin-hyuk was the very first person to achieve this impossible feat. Kang Jin-hyuk couldn't believe his eyes. Was this reality, or just a dream? It was the result of countless hours of research, trial and error, and repeating difficult skills to overcome every single level. Kang Jin-hyuk wondered, never expecting to actually clear the final floor. Perhaps he should live stream this moment. Maybe upload it to YouTube. Even if it's a trash game, who knows, it might bring in some views. A new notification popped up. Kang Jin-hyuk was momentarily surprised, his eyes fixed on the strange message board. The system announced a restart update would take place in 12 hours. Players were encouraged to continue their experience after the update. Kang Jin-hyuk couldn't help but be amazed. A restart update? Where would the company get the budget for something like this? It made no sense. This game wasn't profitable. But whatever, they must have their own calculations. No matter what the update brings, Kang Jin-hyuk had already made up his mind. He would stop playing and plan to quit his streamer and YouTuber career starting today. With an income of only $500 a month, Kang Jin-hyuk couldn't keep living like this. People used to advise Kang Jin-hyuk to become a professional fighter, but now, money was more important than fighting. The moonlight illuminated the room, where Kang Jin-hyuk was lost in thoughts about his future. Live chat started buzzing. Fans were surprised because Kang Jin-hyuk went live earlier than usual. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled brightly, with a feast laid out in front of him. The audience couldn't help but be impressed by this change. Question about whether Kang Jin-hyuk was getting married soon left him speechless, unable to utter a word. Kang Jin-hyuk seemed to be trying to dispel the tense atmosphere by joking about his own tone of voice. But then Kang Jin-hyuk quietly finished his drink, the idea of announcing his retirement tomorrow forming in his head. Sudden headache made Kang Jin-hyuk clutch his forehead, ultimately deciding to upload the video of him completing the Tower of Trials. Kang Jin-hyuk pressed the power button firmly, booting up his computer to carry out his plan. The screen displayed a shocking news headline: "The Tower of Trials is no longer just a game, it has truly become reality." Kang Jin-hyuk stared at the screen in horror, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. On the live stream, the sight of a massive tower appearing in the middle of the city left viewers in utter shock. Information from fans confirmed that this was the very same tower from the game released 11 years ago. The sky turned a deadly shade of red, signaling the beginning of an unimaginable catastrophe. Kang Jin-hyuk was stunned to realize this was the omen that started the Tower of Trials he once knew. A system notification suddenly appeared, confirming that the restart version of the Tower of Trials had been updated. A cold message rings out, ordering everyone to conquer the next floor within 90 days. People on the streets all receive the same notification, and panic begins to spread. The eyes of those around are filled with fear as they read the warning about the life or death time limit. The final notification appears with ruthless clarity: the fate of humanity now hangs by a thread. Kang Jin-hyuk stands still in the dark room, facing the grim future that has just been decreed. Only a brief and terrifying conclusion remains: humanity will be annihilated. The first update of the Tower of Trials is complete. A new era has officially begun. Kang Jin-hyuk is panting heavily. He needs to calm himself down right now. If the Tower of Trials has truly become reality, Kang Jin-hyuk cannot afford to waste another second. He must set off quickly to the location where the destined item is hidden. The world might be on the brink of collapse, but why does Kang Jin-hyuk feel so exhilarated? Kang Jin-hyuk's heart is pounding, and a surge of excitement is spreading throughout his entire body. At the city center, the crowd is in a state of utter chaos. People are panicking, desperately trying to escape, screaming and asking for the fastest train to Busan. Running to Busan won't do any good. Everyone needs to leave South Korea immediately. But all hope is lost once they realize the tower has appeared worldwide. Kang Jin-hyuk rushes forward in desperation, knowing that if he stays in Seoul, death is certain. The entrance to the underground shopping mall is eerily silent. Kang Jin-hyuk stands before the threshold. This is not the time to retreat, but the time to strike. This place has been designated as an external area for the Korean server. Among the 30 regions across the country, this one is closest to Kang Jin-hyuk. System notification rings out. Kang Jin-hyuk has officially entered the event zone. Kang Jin-hyuk quietly observes his surroundings. The people present here are those who played the early stages of the Tower of Trials. They glare at one another, and a heavy tension fills the air. The upcoming item is extremely limited in quantity. A stranger suddenly recognizes Kang Jin-hyuk. Hyun-suk appears with a sly smile. He is a famous streamer and the former CEO of the company where Kang Jin-hyuk used to work. Kang Jin-hyuk stares straight at Hyun-suk, coldly asking about his streaming schedule. Hyun-suk chuckles, feigning indifference toward streaming in this situation. Hyun-suk attempts to rope Kang Jin-hyuk into a partnership, playing the former colleague card. Kang Jin-hyuk repeats the word colleague with utter disdain. Hyun-suk's company had scammed countless streamers into slave contracts, leaving them with nothing. Kang Jin-hyuk's closest friends had to leave the industry because of that exploitation by Hyun-suk. Hyun-suk still deliberately acts friendly, praising Kang Jin-hyuk's gaming skills. Hyun-suk proposes rewriting the contract with better terms, hoping to lure Kang Jin-hyuk in. Kang Jin-hyuk doesn't hesitate to land a punch straight into Hyun-suk's face, cutting through all the pretense. Hyun-suk collapses, clutching his face in agony after Kang Jin-hyuk's critical blow. Kang Jin-hyuk stands over the writhing Hyun-suk, calmly savoring the taste of victory. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes are calculating. He knows it is time for the precious item to appear. The water begins to bubble violently, signaling that a massive change is about to unfold. Energy erupts, and a strange entity rises from the water. Within the beam of light, a bizarre ancient tree rapidly grows and expands. The ancient tree radiates overwhelming pressure, engulfing the entire space around it. The appearance of the tree makes the atmosphere thick and eerie. The people around gasp in astonishment, realizing it is the greedy mangrove tree. Kang Jin-hyuk smiles triumphantly. Everything is unfolding exactly according to his memories of the Tower of Trials. The system confirms the presence of the greedy mangrove tree, and the sweet fruits begin to reveal themselves. The deep red fruits are ripening, offering a boost in stats to anyone who manages to claim them. Despite their immense value, Kang Jin-hyuk notices there are only 4 fruits on the tree. The scarcity of these fruits quickly brings out the greed of those surrounding them. Fierce struggle breaks out as everyone scrambles to get their hands on this precious prize. Screams echo through the air as the greedy combatants tear into each other. One person falls, cast out from the brutal fight in bitter defeat. Hyun-suk remains stubborn, blaming Kang Jin-hyuk for refusing to cooperate and share the spoils. Hyun-suk screams in a fit of rage as he watches the chance to claim the fruit slipping away. Kang Jin-hyuk responds coldly, demanding that Hyun-suk learn his place. Kang Jin-hyuk stands there, his gaze icy and confident, ready to take full control of the situation. Mira and Hyun-suk are struggling to hold their ground, desperate to escape the relentless pursuit of the tentacle monster amidst the ruins. Kang Jin-hyuk quickly grabs the fruit, a crucial item in this survival game. Without hesitation, Kang Jin-hyuk takes a bite, choosing to take the risk to gain the upper hand. The system notifies that Kang Jin-hyuk's agility stat has increased by 3 points immediately after consuming the fruit. While the crowd is still in disarray, those who know the rules of the game like Kang Jin-hyuk have already targeted this precious resource. The brutality of the tentacle monster sends those nearby flying, creating a scene of horrific chaos. Kang Jin-hyuk observes calmly, his icy gaze unwavering in the face of peril. The tentacle monster lashes out, tearing through the air with destructive force. The tentacle monster's attack slams into the ground, shattering bricks and stones under immense pressure. Kang Jin-hyuk stumbles, rushing to warn about the dangers of consuming too many of these fruits. Kang Jin-hyuk roars, recounting the bitter lessons learned from his past failures. Amidst extreme panic, Kang Jin-hyuk remains clear-headed enough to face the harsh reality. Hyun-suk moves stealthily, searching for a chance to survive while everyone else is in chaos. Kang Jin-hyuk sees right through Hyun-suk's fear and questions his resolve. Hyun-suk trembles, admitting that the fear of death is overwhelming his mind. Kang Jin-hyuk replies coldly, revealing that the true reward is reserved only for those who dare to eat all of those fruits. Hyun-suk is stunned, doubting whether Kang Jin-hyuk is actually serious. Kang Jin-hyuk's gaze is filled with determination, asserting his position through his very presence. Hyun-suk suddenly realizes why Kang Jin-hyuk didn't bother hunting for fruit like the others. Hyun-suk smirks, realizing this is the golden opportunity to turn the tide. Hyun-suk decides to place his trust in Kang Jin-hyuk and asks about the next plan. Kang Jin-hyuk doesn't hesitate, suggesting that they must both venture into danger together. Kang Jin-hyuk analyzes the tactics, demanding synchronized coordination from both sides to avoid becoming an easy target. Hyun-suk confirms the decoy mission, ready for the risky plan. Kang Jin-hyuk warns about survival, emphasizing that any hesitation will lead to death. Kang Jin-hyuk stumps, gathering momentum for the decisive action. Kang Jin-hyuk dashes off at breakneck speed, ordering an immediate attack. Hyun-suk is no slouch either, springing forward to execute the plan as discussed. Giant tentacles suddenly erupt from the ground, forming a solid barrier for the tentacle monster. Not stopping there, the tentacle monster madly sweeps through everything around with terrifying power. Kang Jin-hyuk nimbly dodges an attack from the tentacle monster and shouts a question about the whereabouts of Lee Jong-soo. Hyun-suk roars in anger, mocking and challenging Kang Jin-hyuk's trust. A strike from the tentacle monster sweeps across, nearly capturing Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk smirks, his calm demeanor catching Hyun-suk by surprise. The sharp tentacles of the tentacle monster streak forward like dark arrows. Kang Jin-hyuk pours all his focus into the moment, his body moving in sync with the rhythm of the tentacle monster's strikes. Kang Jin-hyuk coldly identifies who is playing the role of the bait in this fight. Hyun-suk turns pale, realizing he is falling into an extremely dangerous situation. Immediately, the tentacles of the tentacle monster wrap tightly around Hyun-suk, leaving him no chance to escape. Hyun-suk screams in agony as the tentacle monster constricts its grip around his body. Kang Jin-hyuk glides across the battlefield, ignoring the desperate cries for help from the trapped Hyun-suk. Hyun-suk frantically begs for aid, but there is no one left who can save him now. Kang Jin-hyuk responds with chilling indifference, telling Hyun-suk to go find a lawyer and settle this in court. Sheer terror fills Hyun-suk's eyes as he realizes that death is closing in. Without a shred of mercy, Kang Jin-hyuk decisively finishes Hyun-suk off. Kang Jin-hyuk turns his back and walks away, his next objective is already in sight. The tentacle monster's tentacles lunge at Kang Jin-hyuk from every direction at blinding speed. Kang Jin-hyuk analyzes the trajectory of the tentacle monster, calculating every angle of attack with precision. Every move the tentacle monster makes is completely predictable to Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk asserts that dodging these attacks is not difficult in the slightest. Kang Jin-hyuk unleashes a powerful counterattack, slicing through an incoming tentacle. The force of the strike cracks the tentacle monster's hide, exposing its weakness within. The entire outer shell of the tentacle monster is ripped away, revealing a core that is pulsing rapidly. The core of the tentacle monster is exposed, emitting a brilliant red light. Kang Jin-hyuk confirms that the tentacle monster's core has officially been revealed. Kang Jin-hyuk realizes that everything is unfolding exactly as he experienced it in the game. Kang Jin-hyuk picks up a sharp piece of wood from the ground, readying himself for the finishing blow. Kang Jin-hyuk coldly delivers an ultimatum, demanding the tentacle monster surrender the tree gem immediately. Kang Jin-hyuk faces this mediocre enemy, a tentacle monster that grants no experience points, worthy only of being noted on the leaderboard. Suddenly, the tentacles sprouting from the ancient tree begin to thrash violently, preparing for a strike. The tentacle monster activates its blood drain skill, and spectral vines lash out directly toward Kang Jin-hyuk. Facing the barrage of attacks, Kang Jin-hyuk knows full well he cannot dodge all of the incoming vines from the tentacle monster. But Kang Jin-hyuk does not waver, he grips his weapon tightly, preparing to strike back. Kang Jin-hyuk lands a precise blow, shattering the oncoming vines and thwarting the tentacle monster's attack. Collision between Kang Jin-hyuk's weapon and the monster's vines creates a shockwave, sending debris flying in all directions. Without pause, Kang Jin-hyuk spins continuously, parrying each of the tentacle monster's attacks and proving his superior defensive skills. Refusing to accept defeat, the tentacle monster roars and continues to unleash even more treacherous attacks at Kang Jin-hyuk. The giant tentacles of the monster rain down like a black storm, placing immense pressure on Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk moves at lightning speed, channeling power into his weapon to deflect the direct assault from the tentacle monster. Once again, the massive impact shakes the ground and the tentacle monster's appendages are driven back by Kang Jin-hyuk in an instant. Kang Jin-hyuk stomps his foot firmly into the ground, holding his ground after the relentless onslaught, ready for the decisive counterstrike. Kang Jin-hyuk is charging forward with all his might, his eyes locked in intense focus as he faces imminent danger. Mesmerizing sleep butterflies shroud the area, releasing a deadly pollen that forces Kang Jin-hyuk to stay on high alert. Kang Jin-hyuk quickly identifies these monsters. They are creatures that disperse sleep powder as a dangerous defense mechanism. However, Kang Jin-hyuk remains unflinching, for he knows exactly how to counter this type of toxin. Simply holding his breath, Kang Jin-hyuk easily dodges the sleep powder's effect and closes in on his target. A precise strike is unleashed by Kang Jin-hyuk, landing directly at the heart of the monsters. With a burst of power, Kang Jin-hyuk activates his skill to end the battle in the blink of an eye. Kang Jin-hyuk's powerful punch descends, creating a massive shockwave that wipes out all obstacles. Kang Jin-hyuk decisively finishes off the monsters with a critical strike, leaving them no chance to retaliate. Kang Jin-hyuk's gaze turns ice cold. He has completely gained control of the situation. The changes in the tower haven't caused a major impact, but there is one notable disturbance taking place. The artifacts outside the tower have transformed into powerful holy relics. In reality, they are merely replicas, as the true legendary artifacts still lie deep within the tower. Kang Jin-hyuk is reviewing the information. This place is the primary hub for the highest concentration of artifact replicas. The National Museum of Korea, a treasure trove containing countless artifacts awaiting their owners. Kang Jin-hyuk understands that the race to claim these replicas will be incredibly fierce, as he isn't the only one eyeing them. There will be many powerful individuals, including former top-tier veterans, converging here. Kang Jin-hyuk places his hand on the door, preparing to step into where those treasures are kept. The atmosphere inside is unnaturally still, making Kang Jin-hyuk wonder if someone has already arrived before him. Suddenly, Kang Jin-hyuk stops in his tracks, his eyes revealing a clear look of astonishment. Just as Kang Jin-hyuk had anticipated, a suspicious trace has appeared right before his eyes. Indeed, someone had already set foot here before Kang Jin-hyuk. Weapons lay scattered everywhere, and a bitter declaration of abandonment echoed through the tense atmosphere. A girl clasped her hands in a fake expression of gratitude, her radiant smile masking the sinister schemes hidden within. The girl frowned slightly, her cold gaze sweeping across, with skepticism clearly etched on his face. Kang Jin-hyuk walked nonchalantly through the wreckage, ignoring the hostile, probing stares from all around. Kang Jin-hyuk stopped, looked down at the ruins beneath his feet, and sarcastically remarked on others' lack of respect for history. Kang Jin-hyuk gently brushed the dust off an old map. Fortunately, it remained intact after the chaotic battle. A provocative voice rang out, aimed directly at Kang Jin-hyuk's unnerving calmness. The woman growled, her eyes blazing with an eerie purple light. There was not a hint of a joke in her words. The ground shook violently under the pressure of the enemy's charging footsteps. The woman commanded the shadow monster to lunge forward and finish off Kang Jin-hyuk immediately. The monster swung its razor-sharp scythe, tearing through the air as it lunged straight toward its target. Kang Jin-hyuk stood his ground, calmly facing the lethal attack closing in on him. At the very moment the scythe reached him, Kang Jin-hyuk launched a counterattack, blocking the strike with overwhelming force. Kang Jin-hyuk stood face to face with Hina, who was kneeling on the ground, the surrounding atmosphere becoming intensely strained. With a cold, piercing gaze, Kang Jin-hyuk looked down and commanded in an undeniable tone, "Give it here." Hina trembled, her eyes filled with shock as she retorted, "What are you asking for, all of a sudden?" Without letting Hina react, Kang Jin-hyuk leaned down and growled, "The mask of Tutankhamun." Hina gritted her teeth, her expression full of confusion. "It's useless in Korea, why do you even want it?" Kang Jin-hyuk didn't explain, simply snapping his fingers decisively. Instantly, a giant, majestic tiger appeared, causing Hina to exclaim in fear, "Alright, fine, I'll give it to you, okay?" Kang Jin-hyuk took the artifact in his hand and said with satisfaction, "Good, that makes 2 artifacts acquired." Hina, still shaken, pressed him further, "Are you targeting the Great Map of the Eastern Lands?" Kang Jin-hyuk replied indifferently, "The map? Almost forgot about that, but Hina, you don't need to worry about that." Kang Jin-hyuk reached out to stroke the tiger and ordered, "Continue guarding this area." Kang Jin-hyuk continued to instruct, "So that no one can tail us." The tiger let out a fierce roar, leaving Hina and those around her trembling in fear. The killing intent radiating from the tiger was thick, engulfing the entire space. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled critically, "All preparations are now complete." His eyes narrowed, and Jin-hyuk growled with murderous intent, "It's time to flatten this place." Kang Jin-hyuk's ultimate goal is to collect the most powerful ultimate skill in the Tower of Trials. Inside the silent chamber of artifacts, the air felt thick and heavy, charged with the presence of a mysterious energy barrier. Min Youngwoo stood frozen before the strange sight, unable to hide his astonishment amidst the confusion. Kang Jin-hyuk stood quietly beside Min Youngwoo, his gaze intensely focused on the barrier, silently analyzing the situation. Min Youngwoo couldn't comprehend how Kang Jin-hyuk had managed to penetrate this deep. Before them, the magic barrier glowed brightly, emitting powerful pulses that signaled a force of no small magnitude. Kang Jin-hyuk calmly assessed, "This is a 1-star barrier." Min Youngwoo was left stunned by how knowledgeable Kang Jin-hyuk was about it. Kang Jin-hyuk reached out to touch the stream of light, sensing a peculiar magical structure he had never encountered before. Min Youngwoo sighed in frustration, asserting that all ordinary physical or magical attacks would be useless against this shield. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't give up, he intently observed each flow of energy running along the surface of the barrier. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes turned cold, he had found the weak point where the flow of magical power was being dispersed. Kang Jin-hyuk confirmed there was a way to destroy it, but the conditions involved were not simple at all. Min Young-woo frowned, curious about the condition Kang Jin-hyuk had just mentioned. Kang Jin-hyuk requested that Min Young-woo continuously maintain a fire spell to weaken the barrier from the outside. Min Young-woo questioned the amount of time required, and Kang Jin-hyuk replied that he had to hold it until he retrieved the artifacts inside. Min Young-woo let out a bitter laugh, never expecting he would have to stand outside acting as a living shield for Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk frankly admitted he couldn't maintain the magic for that long, while promising to leave a map for Min Young-woo in exchange. Min Young-woo fell into deep thought, understanding that if he did nothing, all his hard work would go down the drain. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled. He knew well that he didn't want to make an enemy out of a high-level magic user like Min Young-woo. After a moment of deliberation, Min Young-woo sighed, realizing he had no choice but to trust Kang Jin-hyuk. Min Young-woo nodded, deciding to gamble on this collaboration with Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk offered a faint smile, entrusting this heavy responsibility to Min Young-woo before preparing to act. Min Young-woo focused his spirit, and flames of magic erupted fiercely from his hands. With a resounding shout, Min Young-woo unleashed the flames at the barrier, causing it to shake violently. The raging fire engulfed the space, forcing the barrier to shrink under the immense pressure. Under the heat of the flames, cracks began to appear on the barrier, and the surrounding space became unstable. Kang Jin-hyuk stared fixedly at the gap, his eyes gleaming with determination. He was ready to dash inside. Without hesitation, Kang Jin-hyuk launched himself through the gap in the barrier while Min Young-woo was still straining to maintain the fire. Kang Jin-hyuk glided quickly through the chaotic zone of magical power, utilizing every moment to push deeper inside. Min Young-woo braced himself against the pressure, shouting loudly to urge Kang Jin-hyuk to complete the task quickly. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled confidently, affirming that he would do his absolute best. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes turned icy cold, silently vowing to carry out everything in his own way. Inside the museum, precious artifacts lay motionless in their glass cases, waiting to be discovered. Kang Jin-hyuk observed his surroundings, realizing this place was completely different from the lower floors, as if no one had stepped foot here before. Kang Jin-hyuk's gaze stopped at a shattered glass case which contained the Qianlong iron plate. Kang Jin-hyuk speculated that the perpetrator had taken the necessary item and was the very person who created this barrier. Kang Jin-hyuk concluded that the culprit only wanted to take what they needed and retreat, without any desire to risk participating in the battle. Kang Jin-hyuk continued to search, believing that the opponent had overlooked something important that even he hadn't expected. A look of triumph flashed in Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes. He had found the artifact the other person had considered secondary. Before Kang Jin-hyuk lay the Sangpyeong Tonghua, a rare and precious ancient coin resting inside the glass case. Kang Jin-hyuk clenched his fist, determined to use this coin to create his most powerful technique. Combined with the Persian ritual mold and the right eye of the Tutankhamun mask, everything is ready for Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk begins the fusion process of the two artifacts, and a brilliant golden light erupts all around him. The system notifies him that the artifacts are reacting, a sign that they are perfectly compatible with Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk smirks as he realizes he has triggered a special message from the system. The string binding the coins begins to snap, unleashing the hidden energy contained within. The ancient coins levitate, emitting a blinding aura in Kang Jin-hyuk's hands. All three artifacts resonate together, generating an overwhelming power that engulfs Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk focuses intensely, his gaze unwavering in the face of the artifact's transformation. The system reveals the Eye of Truth, an SS rank item capable of seeing through stats and the lies of others, to Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk knows this is the greatest of the five eyes, but his purpose for coming here goes even further than that. The hidden quest is complete. Kang Jin-hyuk has successfully combined the artifacts to create an S-rank item or higher. All requirements have been met, and the space surrounding Kang Jin-hyuk begins to warp violently. Kang Jin-hyuk feels new power surging through him, preparing for his next evolution. Copying, storing, and combining powerful skills are the very weapons that will help Kang Jin-hyuk become the strongest in the Tower of Trials. Kang Jin-hyuk officially acquires the special ability synthesis while simultaneously creating the world's memory. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes grow sharp. He is ready to master this new power. Just then, a scream from Min Young-woo erupts, drawing Kang Jin-hyuk's attention toward the raging battle. Min Young-woo was at his limit, sweat streaming down his face. He yells in desperation that he can no longer hold on. Kang Jin-hyuk observes silently, his sharp gaze calculating how to copy the special ability from Min Young-woo. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes flash with determination. He has identified his target and exactly what needs to be done right now. Min Young-woo pours his remaining strength into a fiery attack directed at Kang Jin-hyuk in a moment of crisis. Kang Jin-hyuk flashes a meaningful smile. He has grasped Min Young-woo's weakness and is ready for the next move. Kang Jin-hyuk flashes an enigmatic smile. He has finally figured out how to manipulate Min Young-woo's psyche. Provoking Min Youngwoo is all it takes, and Kang Jin-hyuk is brimming with confidence in his plan. Kang Jin-hyuk doesn't hesitate to taunt him, forcing Min Youngwoo to pour all his power into a single attack. With an attitude of pure disdain, Kang Jin-hyuk nonchalantly demands that Min Youngwoo stop using his skill. Min Youngwoo is stunned by Kang Jin-hyuk's arrogance, cold sweat beginning to trickle down his forehead. Kang Jin-hyuk responds in a calm tone, planting seeds of doubt deep within Min Youngwoo's mind. Min Youngwoo is left in shock, failing to grasp why Kang Jin-hyuk pushed him to use his power right from the start. Kang Jin-hyuk steps forward coldly, calling out the name of Min Youngwoo's technique like a death sentence. Flames erupt violently, and Kang Jin-hyuk charges into the heart of the storm, his eyes burning with killing intent. Kang Jin-hyuk analyzes the situation. He knows full well that Min Youngwoo has exhausted his mana after those futile attacks. With his insurance policy in hand, Kang Jin-hyuk decides to strike the final blow to push Min Youngwoo over the edge. For Kang Jin-hyuk, this map of the 10th floor's information has lost all its value. But there's no way Kang Jin-hyuk is going to let Min Youngwoo get his hands on it easily. Kang Jin-hyuk pulls out a lighter, an act that serves as a declaration of war. Min Youngwoo screams in a panic, unable to believe what he is witnessing. Kang Jin-hyuk only responds with an icy stare, reminding Min Youngwoo of the warning he gave earlier. The flame in Kang Jin-hyuk's hand flares up as he calmly declares the map useless. Kang Jin-hyuk sets the map ablaze, obliterating every advantage Min Youngwoo had. Min Youngwoo screams in despair as he watches his hard-earned efforts turn into ashes. Fire engulfs the entire room, and Kang Jin-hyuk stands there, unfazed by Min Youngwoo's blind rage. Min Youngwoo loses control, hurling hateful curses at Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes light up. The system notifies him that the conditions have been met. The fire element skill has been successfully copied, and Kang Jin-hyuk has achieved his goal. Kang Jin-hyuk smiles with satisfaction, not a bad start for his first replication. Min Youngwoo lets out a furious roar, swearing to make Kang Jin-hyuk pay a heavy price. Kang Jin-hyuk clenches his fist, flames erupting violently from each of his fingers. Kang Jin-hyuk's gaze burns with killing intent as he coldly interrogates Min Youngwoo about the incinerated map. The fire on Kang Jin-hyuk's hand explodes, enveloping him and leaving Min Youngwoo stunned. Min Youngwoo recoils in horror, cold sweat streaming down his face. He cannot believe what he is seeing. Kang Jin-hyuk sneers, the magical flames surrounding him growing increasingly wild and violent. Min Youngwoo realizes the vast disparity. His own flames are completely overshadowed by Kang Jin-hyuk's power. Min Youngwoo realizes in shock that Kang Jin-hyuk is no ordinary player. Doubt surges in Min Youngwoo's heart as he wonders who on earth Kang Jin-hyuk really is. Kang Jin-hyuk doesn't even give Min Youngwoo time to regain his composure, delivering an authoritative warning. Kang Jin-hyuk calmly walks up the stairs, leaving all those questions behind him. In Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes, both Min Youngwoo and Chae-in are mere pawns that must be carefully calculated. Kang Jin-hyuk stretches out to relax, gearing up for his next series of plans. Kang Jin-hyuk smiles confidently. He knows he needs to acquire even more skills. Kang Jin-hyuk issues orders to Min Youngwoo, preparing for their next moves. Kang Jin-hyuk demands that Min Youngwoo and Chae-in focus on leveling up immediately. Min Youngwoo and Chae-in heed the command, slowly becoming pawns in Kang Jin-hyuk's grand design. A magic grimoire manifests, symbolizing the skills Kang Jin-hyuk is hungering for. Kang Jin-hyuk ponders, realizing that possessing every single skill is impossible for a single body. Kang Jin-hyuk's gaze turns icy as he thinks about the most precious skills. Kang Jin-hyuk stands tall, determined to hoard all the best resources for himself. Growling stomach forces Kang Jin-hyuk to temporarily set his plans aside. A small eatery appears, and Kang Jin-hyuk decides it's the perfect time to enjoy some gukbap. Inside the shop, Kang Jin-hyuk catches sight of others stunned by the news on TV. The news report covers the horrific casualties at the National Museum. The anchor reports with a grim expression on the worsening situation at the scenes. Footage of the ruined museum plays, confirming that attacks are spreading globally. Chaos engulfs the world as major museums become prime targets. Kang Jin-hyuk calmly watches the news, knowing that other players have already begun to move. It all started from CCTV recordings extracted from inside the tower. The footage captures a mystical entity unleashing a devastating strike that shakes the very air. The powerful attack tears through the atmosphere, revealing Min Youngwoo's terrifying strength as he transforms into a tiger. Hard to believe, the footage is undeniably real. Bewilderment spreads as people realize that Min Youngwoo is the individual who previously appeared in the Tower of Trials community. As Kang Jin-hyuk silently reflects, he realizes he has been exposed too early as more and more people start to recognize him. The government immediately intervenes, establishing a special agency called the Awakened Association to investigate the mysterious tower. Kang Jin-hyuk contemplates while watching the news about the newly announced Awakened Association. Government's reaction speed is far faster than what Kang Jin-hyuk had anticipated. The speed at which they gathered those with innate abilities shows the government's desire to exert full control over this situation. Kang Jin-hyuk watches on calmly, waiting for more detailed information from this new agency. On screen, a representative appears, introducing himself as the head of the Awakened Association. He declares their goal is to recruit more Awakened to join the organization. The organization offers attractive perks including an annual salary of 60 million won and a level 7 civil servant position. However, Kang Jin-hyuk knows clearly that these incentives are not meant for the mysterious figures in the videos. With a solemn expression, the association head continues to offer heavy promises. They assert that the government will provide whatever the Awakened desire provided they agree to join the association. In his capacity as chairman, Han Sang-jin makes a calculating offer. Kang Jin-hyuk observes quietly, grasping every detail behind Han Sang-jin's invitation. Han Sang-jin pledges that the government will provide full support if Kang Jin-hyuk agrees to cooperate. Witnessing this favoritism, those around them can't help but envy the life-changing opportunity handed to Kang Jin-hyuk. Kang Jin-hyuk smirks. He realizes their true objective is none other than himself. They view Kang Jin-hyuk as a mere tool, but he has no intention of serving anyone. In this world, an extraordinary individual is worth more than 100 ordinary men. Han Sang-jin knows this well, which is why he plays the blank check card to lure Kang Jin-hyuk in. Kang Jin-hyuk wonders if Han Sang-jin truly possesses skills powerful enough to warrant the chairman's position. If not, perhaps Han Sang-jin is simply the person with the most experience in the Tower of Trials. Kang Jin-hyuk secretly hopes Han Sang-jin has some unique skill up his sleeve. After all, if Han Sang-jin is powerful, copying his skills would be far more interesting for Kang Jin-hyuk. As time passes, Kang Jin-hyuk intently watches the clock on the wall. At exactly 7 p.m., everything begins. The crowd is rowdy and excited to finally set foot in this place. Kang Jin-hyuk observes the familiar scene he has experienced before. Kang Jin-hyuk smirks, looking at the naivety of the people around him. Every floor of the tower is a bloodbath with ferocious monsters waiting in the shadows. Kang Jin-hyuk nods in satisfaction. This is exactly the rule set he expected. The broadcast system serves as a bridge between those wanting to conquer the tower and the outside world. Viewers choose to follow players with high entertainment value, thereby increasing their views and reputation. This is the most intriguing mechanism of the Tower of Trials. The more famous the player, the more gold they earn. The crowd rushes forward, scrambling for the best spots in the Goblin Cave to grind. Kang Jin-hyuk gets bumped into, yet he maintains his calm demeanor. Watching the rushing crowd, Kang Jin-hyuk smiles faintly. They have no clue about the harshness of this place. Wasting time on useless endeavors would be a massive loss. Kang Jin-hyuk already knows exactly the first move he needs to make. Something special that no one else dares to do first. When conquering the first 30 floors, there was a time they hit a deadlock, unable to progress further. To reach the next floor, they were forced to search for hidden pieces scattered throughout the lower levels. To advance further, Kang Jin-hyuk is forced to look back at the bitter lessons of the past. Finally, Kang Jin-hyuk finds the solution right at an abandoned ruin. It is also when Kang Jin-hyuk realizes a harsh truth. From the very first steps, Kang Jin-hyuk's character possessed fatal flaws. After years of effort, the result was nothing but a big fat zero. The system issues a cruel notification. Do you really want to delete this character? Kang Jin-hyuk gave his all. Why is the answer destruction like this? With no other choice, Kang Jin-hyuk decides to put an end to it and start over from scratch. Kang Jin-hyuk's character data slowly dissolves into nothingness. Kang Jin-hyuk vows that next time he will definitely reach the pinnacle. Time flies, and 6 years have passed since that day. Kang Jin-hyuk stands before the gates of Labyrinthos, a notorious B-rank labyrinth filled with deadly traps designed by Daedalus himself. Kang Jin-hyuk understands clearly that the key to clearing the 30th floor is to build a solid foundation right here. This feeling is so familiar. Kang Jin-hyuk never expected to experience the agony of enlistment all over again. Despite his hatred for it, Kang Jin-hyuk still feels a hint of nostalgia as his hand brushes against the magical seal. Without further hesitation, Kang Jin-hyuk channels his strength and pushes the massive door open. The interior of the labyrinth gradually reveals itself before Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes. This sight, Kang Jin-hyuk still remembers it vividly. Even this scent, everything remains exactly as it was back then. Kang Jin-hyuk smiles. Everything is just as it was in the past. A flash of light cuts through the space. The purge has officially begun. Kang Jin-hyuk gently catches it, welcoming the return of an old friend. Suddenly, a group of strangers appears, demanding to know Kang Jin-hyuk's identity. The girl in the group replies with a smile, claiming they are just looking for a place to grind levels before the labyrinth closes. 10 minutes earlier, this group had been tailing Kang Jin-hyuk and were left in shock after seeing him open the labyrinth gate without a key. Without hesitation, the girl decides to follow Kang Jin-hyuk inside. Teammates express concern, wondering if it's too dangerous to enter a place with an unknown difficulty level or scale. The girl calls her teammate a fool, emphasizing that the early stages of the Tower of Trials are the most crucial part. She deduces that if a level 1 player can open the labyrinth, then it certainly isn't as difficult as they had imagined. Regardless, this is only the labyrinth on the first floor. Kang Jin-hyuk walks ahead nonchalantly. The atmosphere thickens with suspicion. The girl looks around, debating whether or not to share this treasure trove. The girl wears a cunning, meaningful smirk. The answer is obvious, he would never do that. The girl narrows her eyes, her cold gaze revealing a murderous intent. The plan is set, all she needs to do is make sure Kang Jin-hyuk stays in this labyrinth forever. Park Hana smiles warmly, explaining that her group happened to stumble upon the entrance of the labyrinth and managed to slip inside just before it closed. Standing before Kang Jin-hyuk, Park Hana, along with her teammates Jang Chul-sik and Cheon Min-guk, suggests they should join forces to survive this perilous labyrinth. Kang Jin-hyuk narrows his eyes in suspicion. He wonders what game Park Hana is playing by presenting such convincing figures and whether she is truly the leader of this group. Park Hana confidently introduces herself, mentioning that she is 22 years old and has previously reached the second floor of the Tower of Trials. Kang Jin-hyuk thinks to himself that acquiring Park Hana's communication skill would be extremely beneficial for his long-term plans. Jang Chul-sik speaks up, revealing that he only made it to the first floor before giving up. Following him, Jang Mina chews her gum and reveals that she had once conquered up to the third floor. Cheon Min-guk and Du Kwangwoo speak up. Cheon Min-guk asserts that this is his first time participating, and Du Kwangwoo confirms he is a complete newcomer as well. Kang Jin-hyuk gives a polite smile and introduces himself while under the group's observation. Looking at the group before him, Kang Jin-hyuk feels a sense of contempt. He knows full well they will eventually stab him in the back, so bothering to remember their names is completely pointless. Park Hana steps closer to Kang Jin-hyuk, gently asking about his experience within the Tower of Trials. Park Hana continues to probe proactively, her eyes fixed on Kang Jin-hyuk to gauge his reactions. Right at that moment, Park Hana secretly activates her communication skill on Kang Jin-hyuk. A surge of sweet emotion washes over him, causing Kang Jin-hyuk to blush involuntarily at Park Hana's proximity. Despite feeling the effects of the skill, Kang Jin-hyuk maintains his composure and keeps his distance. He thinks to himself that if he hadn't known about this trick beforehand, he might have truly fallen into her emotional trap. Park Hana is so surprised that she breaks into a cold sweat. She cannot understand why her communication skill didn't work completely on Kang Jin-hyuk. Forcing a strained smile, Park Hana continues to ask Kang Jin-hyuk to share information regarding the monsters inside the labyrinth. Kang Jin-hyuk looks up at the space above, where eerie glowing particles are hovering, and begins to reveal the truth about this place. Kang Jin-hyuk coldly declares that the structure of this labyrinth is not fixed but changes at specific intervals. The group is stunned, and Park Hana asks Kang Jin-hyuk in panic, unable to believe what she just heard. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembles violently and a loud crash echoes, causing everyone to startle. Cheon Min-guk and the others are gripped by extreme panic as they realize the sudden environmental shift. Park Hana screams in fear. She cannot fathom how a first-floor labyrinth could undergo such a terrifying transformation. Massive stone blocks begin to detach from the ceiling and collapse right before the group's eyes. Kang Jin-hyuk immediately shouts, warning Park Hana to dodge quickly before the stone crushes her. Panicked, Park Hana lets out a scream and lunges to the side to escape a surprise attack from the ceiling. Kang Jin-hyuk bellows at everyone to look up to avoid being crushed by the stones raining down in succession. Tremor finally subsides, leaving the exhausted group collapsed on the cold stone floor. Park Hana gasps for air, her eyes filled with shock after narrowly escaping the jaws of death. Jang Chul-sik frantically searches for his teammates, exclaiming in worry that Jang Mina has disappeared. He finds the presence of such a shifting labyrinth on the first floor completely unbelievable. Kang Jin-hyuk looks at the panicked group and coldly asks if they have never experienced a terrain-shifting labyrinth before. Park Hana cannot hide her fear, stating that this place is too dangerous for level 1 players and demanding that they leave immediately. Park Hana turns to urge Mew to use her skill to find an exit, but she only receives a look of uneasy hesitation in return. Mew, on the verge of tears, explains that her skill was cancelled the moment the labyrinth began to shift. Park Hana is struck by the terrifying realization that they are truly trapped in this deadly snare. Kang Jin-hyuk observes the newcomers, silently despising them for relying solely on navigation skills as if the labyrinth were a mere walk in the park. Kang Jin-hyuk narrows his eyes, thinking to himself that thing is about to appear. Park Hana grinds her teeth, her anger mounting in the face of their dire predicament. Unable to contain her frustration any longer, Park Hana shouts at Kang Jin-hyuk demanding an explanation. Park Hana questions why Kang Jin-hyuk didn't warn them sooner about the shifting maze as the walls nearly crushed them. Pointing her finger directly at his face, Park Hana accuses Kang Jin-hyuk of being the reason they were injured and nearly lost their lives. Jang Chulsik and the others join in, accusing Kang Jin-hyuk of withholding information that caused them to get separated from Jang Mina. Kang Jin-hyuk sighs, completely unfazed by their baseless accusations. Kang Jin-hyuk coldly retorts, asking if he had ever asked them to follow him in the first place. Park Hana is stunned, unable to believe what she just heard. Cheon Minga can't hold back anymore, screaming that he hated Kang Jin-hyuk from the very first moment he saw him. Losing control, Cheon Minga prepares to lunge at him because things have gone too far. A massive axe flies in from out of nowhere, slamming into the stone floor right between them. Powerful kick from a mysterious entity sends Cheon Minga flying, causing the group to recoil in terror. Park Hana screams in shock as she sees Cheon Minga being attacked. The group is completely bewildered by what is happening. A massive, powerful hand slams into the ground, creating a terrifying shockwave. From the shadows, a monster lunges out with a roar that tears through the air. A minotaur suddenly appears, catching the entire group, including Park Hana, Jang Chulsik, Mu, Jang Mina, Cheon Mingak, and Du Kwangwoo, off guard. The minotaur's giant axe embeds itself into the wall, causing a massive tremor before the eyes of the group. Debris from the shattered wall sprays everywhere, right next to where Park Hana and the others are standing. Minotaur lets out a deafening roar, directly threatening the lives of Kang Jin-hyuk and his team. Park Hana cannot hide her terror as she faces the threat of being attacked by the beast. In the midst of the crisis, Kang Jin-hyuk coldly orders Park Hana and the others to get out of the way so he can deal with the monster. Kang Jin-hyuk dashes off, leaving behind a bewildered Jang Chulsik and his teammates. Park Hana stares blankly at Kang Jin-hyuk's retreating figure, disbelieving of his incredible speed. Kang Jin-hyuk lunges straight at the Minotaur, his decisive actions taking everyone by surprise. A surge of energy erupts, marking Kang Jin-hyuk's high-speed movement toward the Minotaur. Kang Jin-hyuk leaps high, spectacularly dodging a lethal blow from the beast. Having seized the opportunity, Kang Jin-hyuk readies a decisive counterattack against the Minotaur. Kang Jin-hyuk's sharp eyes flash with killing intent. The battle between him and the Minotaur has only just begun.